Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a much anticipated TVT for me. This is from the IEM Katowice Group Stages, Group D, the Group of Death. As it always seems to be, as in the top left-hand corner, we do have, from Team NV, the current, let's still say, best Terran in the world. It, of course, is Maru. And he's sending out 2 SCVs, so we're going to get some proxy play against the player in the bottom right, who was the originator of the Reaper. Although it doesn't appear as though this is going to be... Oh, no, it is. Proxy Reaper. But the originator! This man made that unit what it is from Shopify Rebellion. It is Byun. And oh boy, Maru starting off this best of 3. Extremely spicy. Now, I did say this is from the group stages at this point. I believe Maru did just have his game versus Rainer, that really close 3-game series. Byun, I'm not sure if he's still in the running at this point. He might still just barely be close, but he's going to have to win this series in order to really make it convincing that he can try and make it out of this group in like a 3rd place. But we'll have to see, as the first Reapers are going to be coming on out, and these players aren't going to give me too much time to talk about what's going on because they're going to get right onto the action. I do love this supply depot from Byun. This is just a little bit of safety, just making sure, hey, I know exactly what's happening. And, you know, or not that he knows exactly what's happening, but he's preparing just in case, and he's already going for this really awesome kind of, or there's this really awesome opening for... Sorry, as I was trying to get my thoughts in order there. For combating the Proxy 2-Rax Reaper, which is, of course, going to be the early Reaper, and then also the early Factory, as Byun does actually take a bit more damage there. Has to be careful as he runs away. He's going to have to continue running because Maru just gets the first shots off, as now we're going to have a bit of a skirmish. Oh, Maru almost gets the first Reaper kill. Is going to have to now retreat on out, but more Reapers on the way. 2 at a time coming out now. That Factory trying to finish on up from Byun should be able to get up as the first SCV is going to go down. Maru now chasing down this Reaper. Just have to back away. Great KD8 charge to knock back some of the SCVs, and already 3 of them going down. Maru getting some decent value, but is going to have to back on up now that 2 Reapers are out for his opponent. As Maru's just going to go up with the 4 Reapers and then float one of his barracks back, the other to try and knock down the supply depot. Of course, you can't really contest this as Byun, as you're just trying to really mitigate as much damage as you can with only 2 Reapers and a Hellion against 4 Reapers. Not a fight that's going to turn out very well for you, as Maru is now going to be landing this, and we'll see. Going to try and continue to press this. Actually, that's some Marine in production as Reaper goes down for a Reaper, but now there's 2 Hellions out, and Maru, you have to get away as the 3rd Reaper not falling. And Byun, immediately as soon as the pressure let up, had that CC already on the way, so is going to have the advantage in that timing now versus Maru. Only just now started his command center and starport. A very good response from Byun. Again, that opening, Byun is always a player who plays safe. He knows how to be careful with his build orders to make sure that he can still, you know, be decently greedy, but also be safe from any sort of cheese. That's a nice delay onto the starport. You will take any sort of delay that you can onto that tech, and that should mean that Maru's will actually get up in time with Byun, so he's not going to be behind on any of that tech. As we are going to see the game kind of even out from here, and that's the interesting part about the 2-Rax Reaper is that really players have gotten good enough nowadays that even if you do end up getting, you know, some damage with it, it's never going to be game ending unless there's a real big goof from the player who's defending. As Maru has immediately started on a 3rd CC, and this of course is the kind of the proper response where you know that your opponent is going to have to play a little bit safe. You know that you should have, you know, a good enough defense that you're able to hold on, but it's going to be a bit rough as the barracks will be cleaned up. That CC for Byun is going to land in time, and you're already seeing a 10 supply lead for the Shopify Terran, and most of that, I mean all of that, is in the army. Already has a tank out. Maru does not. Has Marines and, well, of course, has more units off of that proxy. So while Maru is going to be getting up that 3rd CC faster, and that's, of course, kind of the correct way you should go about transitioning out of the 2-Rax Reaper, he's going to have to be careful because there's a very real chance that Byun just finds an opening and is going to be able to kind of pounce on Maru's army if he's not in position. Now, Maru is, you know, one of the best defensive Terrans, if not the best of all time. But you just have to be careful, as we are going to be seeing a little bit of a setup here outside of the natural for Maru. I don't think he's going to run up that ramp, of course. Doesn't know that Byun has his units out on the map right now, searching for his Reapers and that scouting. So both these players have, like ships in the night, almost passed by each other, trying to get that map control and vision control especially. And this early game is just going to kind of transition out, and we have a bit of time to take a breath. And I can now bring up some of the more interesting stuff. So, interestingly enough, Byun made it into Group D off of an amazing run through the play-in bracket. Actually went undefeated in every single TVT he played, which was only TVTs that he played. And so, Byun's in really good form right now, which does make me excited and a bit sad that he's in this group of death, because I think in any of the other groups, Byun could have gone out in first or second. Absolutely. As, Cyclone's going to poke up, going to try and get a kill onto this tank, maintain the lock on. Oh, just barely. But you are going to lose 2 Cyclones for this. A Cyclone is traded back, which is pretty worthwhile. Maru is going to take that trade, I think. 2 Cyclones for a Cyclone and a tank. And you know when the push out is coming for Byun. Still, you are down 11 army supply, and most of that is just in, right now in the Marine category. And the fact that you have these Reapers and these Hellions available for Byun. The 2 Ravens are out for both players. Tanks are out in even numbers. Byun has already started on his Viking production, though. So, really big difference there in the builds. Maru, his stim is going to be later. He's not going to be having that upgrade for his Marines as quickly. And also for Maru, even though he got this fast 3rd CC, and it's been great to keep the worker count even, it really hasn't been doing too much now, because Byun is getting up his own 3rd command center. And so now that the game evens out, Maru is going to have to look for a timing to land that 3rd fairly shortly, and he's still at an army deficit, which is the really scary part for him. As 1-1 upgrades start up, the stim pack is not too far delayed for Maru. It's, you know, decent enough, as 3 Ravens are going to try and make their way around to harass. They skirt the vision of the Xel'Naga Tower, but you see Byun here already in position. If these Ravens go in, this could actually be a massive catch for Byun. I mean, again, already having these Vikings out, sure, he settles for 1 less Raven, but this early in the game, if you catch out this harassment, then it can absolutely be massive, as the Ravens are going to try and chase down these units. The stim pack is going to be the target, and that is, a massive denial if that comes through. But the Ravens are going to go down for it. 1 Raven already falling. Maru splits them up, but the high energy Raven is just going to get targeted down. Oh, Byun. Stim is canceled, but gets 2 Ravens for it. Is that worthwhile? I actually don't even know. Tech Lab hasn't been rebuilt just yet. It's finally going to be on the way. But Maru, I mean, sure, you sacrifice the 2 Ravens for it, but I think that is a worthwhile play. It now means that he's going to actually be able to take a tempo lead. You know, if he's able to get that stim up before Byun, and if he's able to make use of it, Maru's units will just fight better. And so he also used up some of that Raven energy on interference matrices. There's still a lot left for Byun on those Ravens. He's trying to find this position. Oh, interference matrices go down. 2 of them onto the tanks, but Maru still has 1 in position. The stim pack is ready for Maru. Not quite, actually. Doesn't have stim. That's massive as the Vikings land. Oh, Byun just crushing through this. Doesn't even bother to take the air fight. Just goes for the engage on the ground before stim pack comes through. And Maru's army gets absolutely crushed. That does hurt quite a bit, as now suddenly Byun is on 3 bases. Maru is back onto 2, is trying to, I mean, push out with just a massive tank deficit. 6-1 is, yeah, you're not pushing out of this natural anytime soon. You're really not. Byun is not going to give Maru an opportunity to, and he doesn't have to, as the Viking battle is going to be in favor of Maru, so you do have to give up at least that as Byun. 1-1 upgrades are finishing up. Maru, his armory is just a little bit delayed. I don't believe that Byun has one either, so neither player going to be getting their 2-2 in at least decent time. But 1-1 will be finishing out for both. Byun is still working on that stim pack. Again, that delay. It's such a long upgrade. I mean, stim pack, it is the most important upgrade in the game for Terran. And so losing that just it delays everything for so long. And that's, I think, the only reason why Byun isn't able to actually, end the game right now, is because he doesn't have that stim back. As Maru is trying to look for a bit of a counterattack here. As, ooh, great little play there from Maru. Actually, I don't, was that? I wasn't looking right at that time. Was that Maru targeting his own tank? Well, or Byun, we'll see as these Marines stim on in. Gonna be able to get a kill on a lot of the Vikings. And this counterattack from Maru actually getting a ton of work done, even though it was seen for so long. Now targeting down the SCVs, and sure, these Marines might die. This is so much damage, though. Almost completely evening up the damage that he took across the map. 17 SCVs go down. That was incredibly worthwhile. Oh, is Maru loading up medevacs full of Marines and tanks. He's gonna look for this. He knows that the Marines are out of position. Maru gonna try and crush through the contain. And oh, Maru does this so well as the Vikings land. Tanks are gonna go down for him, but he completely cleans that up, resets the tank count. And suddenly Maru will finally be able to get a foot back into this game, but Byun has already taken a 4th CC that is on location that has finished up. So Maru now needs to push this advantage. He needs to push this tempo that he has because, I mean, you know that you're going to be behind. Even though you got 17 worker kills, even though you clean up those tanks, you know, Byun is still in a decent spot. He still had a lot of units at home. Byun was able to, you know, kind of get his worker count back up to a very, very decent spot. And Maru just doesn't feel like he wants to push it, doesn't want to risk it, because if he loses his army, that is everything that he has. It just goes to show how far in the lead Byun was with that contain. Maru will take his own 4th, had that CC built in his main base, so just floats it on over as 2-2 is started up for both of these players. Second factories should be on the way fairly shortly, as Byun is going to be the first one to start up vehicle weapons, which is, of course, one of the more important upgrades. Yeah, you're not going to be stimming into that planetary fortress anytime soon as Maru. And for Byun, this is, I mean, I think this is really where you got to show that you can stick in this game. If you can manage to pull through, win this game, then that can mean so much for you as scans go down, tanks siege up, and the Marines pull away. Second factory is finally on the way for Maru. Byun still not quite adding that on, does have the might too, and it's a really important add-on as this fight, not the best for Byun, takes actually the worst end of it before Maru retreats, realizing that Byun had critical mass to then swing it in his favor. But the second factory is extremely important to add on in TVT here, especially when you have the lead that Byun does, when you have the money that Byun does. You need to add on that second factory, and it's finally going to be there, so you can get that double tank production, because the tank, I mean, it is the most important unit. Even when you get into the late game, you know, where you're battling for dominance in the air, the tank is what's going to allow you to push these positions, as Maru is a bit stuck here between his bases. Byun has found an extremely good position. One tank almost goes down as you do have the Marines stimming on either side. Maru loses quite a few Vikings. Byun doesn't want to stim in quite yet. Oh, Byun, he's going to go for the double drop. He sees the tanks are exposed, and he should be able to absolutely clean all of them up, and this is a massive loss for Maru. Sure, a lot of Marines go down, but now Byun can just hold this position. That's a triple drop loaded up by Maru, and that's going to head across the map, setting up the counterattack. But this base might just go down. Maru going to have to repair it. You see there the Liberator sieging on up. The tank going to be able to keep Byun's Marines away. The tanks have to unsiege, reposition, but you're now going to have, I mean, 3-4 tanks shelling onto this command center. And just a small group of Marines stim forward. There we go. Liberator's down. Vikings are killed. Now Byun can swing the air battle in his favor. And Maru, he's brought back these 3 medevacs. He's going to look for the surround. The SCVs are being brought in, and they're just not enough here for Byun. He has to retreat with the Marines. But 23 SCVs go down. It's 81 workers to 46. And Byun, even though, again, he loses the tanks, he has so much at home. It's not, I don't think, enough. It's 83 army supply for Maru. It is, I mean, more Marines, more tanks. The Viking count has been completely reset. It's 2-2 upgrades for both players, but Byun has the +1 for his tanks, and Maru being down an upgrade right now. Byun's able to easily reset that army supply lead, get himself back into an overall supply lead, now sitting 26 supply ahead, with 3-3 on the way, with a 4th base established, with, I mean, almost 30 more workers. And Byun has been making all the right moves in this game. Maru now going to continue to look for an angle. I mean, he knows he has to make something work, even though he's on 4 bases. There is no worker production. He's not getting more workers up. This is it for Maru. You're not going to be able to get back into the macro game from this spot. But it's just so hard. I mean, Byun has so much vision. He has the sensor towers. He has the economy. And Byun has even gotten back into Vikings, knowing that that is going to be how he will kind of transition to the game. And I'm sorry, I said earlier that was a 4th CC. No, it was just the main command center floated over. I didn't even note that. I thought Maru did have the money to build a 4th, but that was not the case. As uh-oh, that's 4 tanks exposed. Oh, Byun doesn't go in. The siege up is just in time. Oh, does Byun see that? Oh, Byun does. He sees that Maru is moving out across the map. He knows the army movement of the NV Terran even before it gets into the sensor towers. Now Maru is going to stem on in. He's going to try and look for the siege up here on the bases. But the siege up from Byun is just as good to stop that from happening. Oh, and Byun, he's interrupting troops at the back. Marine's going to chase it all down. And that's a lot of tanks that Maru can't afford to lose, as Byun is going to look to try and just win the game with this move. The tanks are down. His own tanks are in position. The stim comes through. Maru's supply drops drastically below 100. GG. And welcome to Hardwire for game number 2. What an awesome game 1 we did have. That is exactly what I want from this series. Is in the bottom left-hand corner, representing Team NV, is our red Terran. His name is Maru. And in the top right, taking that first map, looking to try and get one of the biggest upsets that I think would be possible in this group, is this man winning a TVT against Maru. He's looking so good right now from Shopify Rebellion. It is Byun. And this is what I meant. It feels like right now Byun is in such good form, and in any other group I absolutely feel like he could get a top 3 for sure, guaranteed. But he's in the group of death, and so unfortunately he's not going to have that chance, which is unfortunate, because again, I feel like Byun's form has just continually gotten better and better. And I mean, we see that in the game 1. TVT used to be one of his weak points. His TVC was good, his TVP was good, but his TVT, that was what was stopping him from getting to GSL Code S for the longest time. We had Code A qualifiers, and he would get knocked out, by Cure, Percival, Bunny. I mean, he couldn't beat Bunny for the longest time. And of course, Bunny does have some amazing TVT, being Maru's teammate. But seeing, how good Byun looks now, it does just... If you're a Byun fan, you gotta feel good. You gotta feel happy and excited for what he's gonna be able to do in the future. So we're gonna be seeing Command Center go down for Byun. So on Hardwire, interestingly enough, even though it is a map with no ramp up into your natural base, is gonna be going for the early CC, which... the reason why I say it's interesting is because on the last map, of course, he went for the very, very safe build, and that was even with the ramp up the natural, which is usually offers you a bit more safety to go for the fast CC. So it's just a bit counterintuitive to what I expect, and Byun is moving out here with his first Reaper just to scout around a little bit. Maru is going to come across Reaper and an SCV. This is your usual just poke to try and delay the command center, and we'll see if he's going to be able to get that value as the immediate shots go down. SCV is going to fall, and Byun here, does not able to get the kill on the SCV immediately. And that command center is actually going to be quite delayed from this. As the SCV comes down, Byun trying to poke back the Reaper, does take the KD8 charge. And actually, he's going to lose the Reaper! Oh, that's massive. Now the CC is going to be even more delayed. Byun's going for the reactor. That is, that's GG. Oh my. So yeah, that last game. I know. People are probably going to say, what happened there? That was Why did Byun GG out? And I mean, the real short answer is, even though Byun had defender's advantage with that Reaper, his first SCV died, and then he still ended up losing the Reaper, and it would have been the second SCV. It would have been about a 45-second delay at the least, because mind you, Maru was building Byun went for the reactor onto the factory, so you're not even going to have an extra Reaper out. You're going to have 2 Hellions, but that's 21 seconds later. And so, with the amount of time his CC would have been delayed, it would have been even with Maru, who went for the faster tech. If not, Maru's would have been ahead. And so, his spirit says, listen, that's far too much of a deficit to play from. And of course, TVT is a very stressful and APM-intensive matchup. And, you know, he's not Maru. Maru can play back from those positions. Maru is one of the best comeback players ever. And it's a situation where Byun probably didn't feel like he was going to be able to get back into that game after taking that much damage so early on. So he taps out, GG's out. I think it's perfectly reasonable to. If you make a major or if something like that happens where it's so much damage to your economy early on when you're going through the CC first. Not a position that he wanted to play back from. You can't really blame him, and so we're on to game 3, and suddenly this one is going to decide it all, which is not the situation that Byun wanted to be in, especially after how well he played that game 1 with defending the proxy 2 racks. You're now going to have to approach this from a completely even standpoint. You know, you're not going to have the advantage of, ooh, Maru went for a proxy, and so I'm going to have more units than him, and I can push that advantage. No, it's going to be fairly even. It's going to all depend on how both these players approach the early to mid game with their builds and with their pressure, and especially with their micro. As we are seeing, both players going for the exact same build. So this is your standard opening. The only deviation is actually coming with the unit production. So it was barracks into 2 Reapers into a Hellion. Byun did immediately go for the tech lab onto the barracks and then swap that onto the factory, whereas, of course, we see Maru went for the reactor on the barracks and the Widow Mine for the defensive purposes into his own tech lab. So Byun is just going to be getting a lot more stuff out. You're going to see 2 Cyclones out for him a lot quicker than it is for Maru. You're going to see the Banshee as well. See, a Cloak has started up there. I don't know if this is a Cloak Banshee kind of angle. It doesn't look like it is going to be, as there's a lot of gas that Maru is using up, or Byun is using up here for his tech units and for this opening, but it does mean that Byun should be able to apply a lot more map pressure and map presence. And when I talk about that, I mean it's overall just the strength of units that you have out able to roam the map comparative to your opponents. And so that's how you set the early lines and where you're able to move your units. And so with 2 Cyclones already out, you know, with a Banshee as well, for Byun, with these units, he should be able to, you know, at least hold a line outside of Maru's natural until Maru gets enough units to push him away, which will be, you know, a tank or 2 with the Marines. Especially, actually, if Maru does end up losing these Reapers, which he will. So that should just hand over map pressure to Byun. It should give him the ability to now just kind of be wherever he wants. He can position wherever he wants. It doesn't really matter. Oh, even gets the snipe there on the Widow Mine, and that's actually could be massive, I think. Ooh, Byun wanted to go for that dive onto the tank, but couldn't quite. As we're going to be seeing continued Raven production from Maru, and pretty much a standstill here on this game, although Hellion does manage to get a kill onto the SCV. Maru is going to knock down a supply depot across the map and just kind of take that victory as he gets his 3rd started up once again. Of course, we do have Maru building his in his main just to be safer. He knows that he's not going to be able to build that at his 3rd base on location. That is just not really viable for him at the current moment. And we have a bit of a standstill here, actually, early on, which is a bit surprising. Usually you know, there is at least something going on the map, but both these players have relegated themselves to, all right, this is how the game is going to go. We're going to play this macro. We're going to just kind of get into the mid game here. Looking at the, you know, just really got to just look at the standing armies for both these players. Byun has a slight lead, of course, still has these 2 Cyclones retained, does have even tanks and Ravens, also having his own Banshees. So, you know, that is, of course, very, very nice. We will see a 3rd Raven be coming out here for Maru fairly shortly. As the scan goes down and sees that it's immediately into the Viking production for Byun. So the same opening as last game for our Shopify Terran, as the tanks are just slowly pushing forward, are now in range here of the Cyclones. Should be able to get just the Hellion there, and then that is it. So Maru will be able to finally push out and establish his own 3rd base. Byun already mining off of that and has his stim pack on the way. This time the lead is actually pretty significant. Byun almost has his halfways done before Maru starts up his own. Of course, again, Maru likes to get that early 1-1. He usually goes for his engineering base before he starts that stim pack up. But even then, Byun on top of his own upgrades as well, and it's just been a fairly even opener. I'd actually even give Byun the edge, which is not something I say a lot. I think, as I said, I think Byun right now is playing some really impeccable TVT. It's actually really refreshing to see how well he's playing. This Banshee is going to go down, tries to get a few worker kills, only finds the 1 before it does end up being killed off. And stim is done for Byun, but it does not look like he wants to try and go for any sort of an attack. Maru already has the sensor tower up, is just playing very, very defensive, as Maru does. As more barracks are being added on, and that's immediately into a 4 CC for Byun. So properly recognizing, hey, listen, I have a lot of room right now to do what I want. Pretty much Maru is just giving him space and time because Maru can't really go out on the map. He knows that he's had a bit of a tempo disadvantage from the start with the openings, with the units that have been out. And so Maru's not going to be pushing any advantages here. And so he's recognizing the fact that he can't. And he's just staying back, and that's very, very smart to do right now, as we are going to be seeing Maru here, or Byun here, trying to set up an angle. Ooh, Cyclones. Oh, good lock on, but doesn't manage to get the kill. There's another lock on, and Byun trades 1 for 1 there. Maru does a good job of locking onto the high health Cyclone in that scenario. Byun's still not going to be going for this attack. Maru actually scans it out. Doesn't manage to see what is going on. See the positioning here of his opponent. Still going to try and push at those. Here we go. Byun immediately with the interference matrix. Auto turrets go down for Maru, though. The tank line is far enough back that Byun can just kind of seize this up, but is going to lose quite a bit of the momentum that he had. Finally trade, I mean, a tank for 2 tanks, and that's not really worthwhile. Actually, a tank for 3. As Byun already knocking the value that he wanted here with this attack. Still, the Raven energy used up quite a bit for Maru. Still has all 3 of his alive, though. The Viking count is really where it's going to start to be a struggle here. For Maru is, oh, Byun! Had his units too far forward, the Marines could get into range without being attacked by the tanks, as we now have a double drop moving on out. For Maru is also pressuring this building command center. As Maru now wins the Viking battle, and Byun here, you do got to back up. Not really much of a chance for you to press this. Ooh, almost has the miss rally there. We'll just get on out of the way. Both players with now a 4th base established. Planetaries up. +2/+2 on the way. And 10 Marines being produced at a time. 2 factories are available for Byun here. Would like to see that double tank production started up again. That's where you can really start to push a lead, is with that tank count. Is there we go. 2 tanks at a time. As Maru just staying completely defensive. Not really trying to push anything. And actually, this tank position might be a bit dangerous to stim down. You should be able to get at least 3 tanks. The split, not the best, but it doesn't really matter. You're not going to lose altogether that much in comparison. But I mean, the real difference here is, well, Byun right now is sitting about 30 supply in the lead. 198 to 169. Byun, though, still just not going to push anything. He's not going to attack. He's not going to be aggressive. And it feels like it's a slight mistake. I feel like for Byun, you should be trying to push advantages here out on the map. You know I mean, he doesn't know he has more, but he does. I mean, look at that Marine count. 62 to 23. If you're able to find an angle onto any of these tanks, exposed tank lines of Maru's, especially without having the +2 vehicle weapons available, you can collapse and you can get so much work done right now. And this is the timing for Byun because Maru is getting into Ravens, Corvid Reactor, adding on additional starports, adding on additional command centers. This is really the timing where you need to try and look for something. If you recognize that you had this lead, and Byun, I just don't think he does. Just has a slight misread on the situation, unfortunately. Missile turrets now going up as Maru is just looking to set up these defensive lines at his 4th base and his 3rd. Corvid Reactor is finally going to be on the way here for Byun, who has added on 2 more starports of his own, so both players are going to be sitting at 3. But also it's that 3-3 started up for Byun. Just has so much to work with right now. A massive bank. But does it really matter, is the question. I don't know if it does. +3 weapons is on the way here for Maru. Finally going to be starting up the upgrade as well. Building CC will go down. This should be canceled. There we go. Byun going to find the cancel onto that. Going to bring down a few Marines of his own. Already you have a floating CC, or a CC available to float on out. And the +2 vehicle weapons has started up for Byun, who does have very nicely 2 armories here, so he can also get his ship weapons, ship plating at the same time. It just feels like Byun right now having so many advantages and just not quite being able to really push any of them just yet. But I love what he's doing here, setting up missile turrets in advanced positions, has these tanks available at the Xel'Naga watchtowers. And Byun is going to be able to take a 5th and a 6th at the same time with it really without much worry of repercussion from his opponent. But the real danger right now is that it's 7 Ravens for Maru. Sure, he doesn't have the Marine count, but he's finally evened up, on the tanks, on the air army, where originally Byun did have a pretty massive lead. That's not the case anymore, as we have a bit of a skirmish going down here. The anti-armor missile gonna be able to get absolutely everything. Imperial's matrices go down, but a good unsiege just in time, as we're gonna have a bit of a skirmish. Byun moving forward here with a lot of units that I don't think he should lose a tank for it. And right now the air dominance for Maru is enough to try and push back beyond 30 supply. Goes down. It has to be rebuilt now for the Shopify Terran, as Maru is suddenly caught up in the bank. He's caught up in the gas bank especially. He's actually been spending less on upgrades than Maru, or than Byun. He's using so much money right now to get +3/+3, +2 vehicle weapons, and the ship plating. Maru, he's not really going for that because he realizes, listen, there's not a lot of Marines out right now. The tanks, yes, if I get that +2, they'll be good against each other, but that is really not necessary for him right now. He's focusing on the air upgrades, on that air dominance, and Byun should lose this command center eventually. Of course, not too sad about it. He does have a CC up here in the left side of the map. As I feel like going for the +3 here for Byun is just going to look to again push this, upgrade advantage with the tanks, this upgrade lead with the tanks, as he's working on his ship plating as well. But again, you can't underestimate how strong having these ship upgrades are for your Vikings for that air battle. As Maru just stimming on in, and Byun, he's going for a base race. I don't know if this is the call, but I guess that's what we're doing right now, as Dorito Dust goes down onto all of the Vikings. The anti-armor missile trying to get so much value here for Byun. Not quite working out as Maru answers one of his own, but the tank line pushing on forward. And back at home, what's going on? Well, Maru's pushing in with Marines into the natural. The tanks now going to be brought forward to deal with this planetary fortress at the 4th base location. As Maru is pushed back, Byun is not able to break the defenses of Maru and has to retreat now back to his base to try and recuperate, but this is absolutely not a worthwhile trade for Byun, who's just bringing his units one at a time. I mean, he's gonna finally land the Vikings, but he loses all of them. And he's not gonna be able to even clean it up. This is disastrous for Byun. He went for the base trade, it didn't work out. He tried to clean up the army back at home, and now Maru is just gonna push him down. Oh, Byun was so close, had a lead in this game, but it's the Maru difference in the late game, the macro from this man, the decision making. I mean, that's where Maru's been really excelling in this tournament. As interference matrix are gonna go down, the Vikings are landed, and for Byun, this is gonna be his last stand here in the main base. More tanks are coming out, and he's hoping that it'll be enough to try and save him. Will it though? Marines going down, the Viking count still in favor of Maru, who's pushing his 178 supply to 113. There's no bank left for Byun, and Maru is gonna be able to win this series, but it was so close. As with the SCV surround, Byun is able to clean it up, but his base count is not what it used to be, and immediately Maru expands to every single map, or every single base that he can. And Byun, it was such a valiant effort. It was so close. I felt like Byun has shown so much in this series, especially in that game 1. But Maru's TVT is just so good. I mean, it is, of course, I think his best matchup is Maru has chewed through his bank here. You know, of course, looking to get more units and add on more and more, but it doesn't matter. GG, Maru's gonna take the series.